teach the scriptures 100% raw through truth and sincerity. You know, we do to hell with these people. That's why, you know, when these people are getting judged out here with the you know, the different you know, the ICE coming out with these different protests, we're not giving a damn because these people ain't up the elect, and these are the same people that are against this truth, that worship other guys, that worship Cesare Borgia.
Yeah.
Ultimately, why would we feel some type of way if that's you know, that's how they're getting judged by Yahawashi. You see, because you know and a lot of you know, most Jakes at this point, if not damn near every Jake, has came across the truth at some point, has heard about the truth. But you know, what do they say? You know, they fall into the oh, these guys are you know, this and that, and you know, a cult, quote unquote. All right, these guys are, you know, hate preaching hate, you know, this, that, and the third. All right, so you know, let them you know, go be destroyed. You know, thinking that about the men of Yahawashi. See?
To read this real quick, it says, 2nd Ezra chapter 16 to 70. For there should be in every city and in the next cities great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They should be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. And, you know, going into the point that the brothers in according to the Dallas Kent mentioned, you know, this is, you know, it's not like this is, of course, only referring on to Esau coming up against, again, the, you know, the elect of the nation of Israel. Well, obviously, you know, even within the 2/3, you have those who basically, you know, believe that they're, you know, again, I just going to say, basically what, you know, you're going to have, it says in Matthew chapter 7, how you're going to have those who thought that they, of course, you know, did the will of the Lord. Mm-hmm. Doing, you know, but what Yahushua is going to say, you know, what's the phrasing? You know, basically, I never knew thee.
Yeah.
So yeah. For a lot of these Jakes who claim that they believe on the Lord, and you know, they're again, but ultimately they of course have this zeal, but not according to knowledge. Ultimately, you know, they're going to be caught up by Esau and within Esau's insurrection against what the Israelites.
Yeah.
Because what obviously the scripture's going through how the elect of the nation of Israel will be protected. Those who truly believe on Yahawashi and do as well as scriptures say. Ultimately, what, you know, they're going to have a covering, a hedge around them.
Yeah.
Spiritual power, of course, you know, again, many miracles happening for the elect. But ultimately, for those who didn't go through that straight gate, because again, the straight gate is a very narrow path.
Yep.
You know, you do one wrong thing, boom, you basically already fell off. Yep. You know what? Ultimately, they're going to get caught up in the insurrection.
That's it, yeah. And you know, ultimately, like, you know, they'll know that, you know, we was preaching the truth the whole time, because, you know, we're coming out, pushing forth the lessons, coming out every week. You know, pretty much people already know, kind of roughly, you know, what we're about out there, preaching the downfall of Babylon. You know, Esau being the devil, us being, you know, the Israelites, but not just that, but you know, they're gonna also see, you know, brothers being good during that time, man. You know, brothers being protected. You know, and they're gonna be looking for the word. You know, they're gonna be looking for, you know, brothers. You know, Isaiah 4:1 as well. You know, so during that time, they're all gonna be, you know, in regret. You know, with the scriptures, Ezekiel 33, then they have known that a prophet have been among them. So during that time, you know, not only is, you know, their false idols going to fail them, but they're also going to realize that, hey, you know, we've been wrong the whole time, man. And these men have been right. You see? Yeah.
Yep. It says verse 72 of 2nd Ezra chapter 16. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out with their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. See?
There you go.
Only the elect will pass through that fire. You know, and what the wood, the chaff, what the gravel, ultimately what that's going to be burned up, within that fire. So what the fire ultimately being the trials and tribulations that Yahawashi sends, and what he's of course sending it right now as we speak, but it's only going to increase. But only the elect will come out as gold tried in the fire.
Yep.
But the point is that, again, the real true ones of Yahawashi is really going to be known, again, as these things turn up. As of course these things continue to turn up. When for real, or really of course bad out here. You got of course martial law. You have of course the implementation of the MOTB. You have of course famine at max, pestilence, anarchy, earthquakes. As of course the scriptures go into war, civil war, or of course all these things of course at its max. Then it's like ultimately it's going to be known who are the Lord's chosen, because ultimately only the elect will get through that, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, of course by His mercy's sake, because the elect of the nation of Israel will be accounted worthy to escape all these things, of course through the blood of Yahweh. Well, ultimately they're going to be those ones who pass through that fire, as gold tried in the fire. It says, verse 74, "Hear, O ye my beloved, say the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same." See, so the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. But for the jakes who aren't getting right, they want to stay within these different camps, IUIC, ICBK, and ultimately it doesn't matter. I mean, really, again, we know Great Millstone has the truth, but it's not like you have to be a part of Great Millstone in order to receive salvation. I have to join. No, ultimately, but you of course have to have the truth, which again, what the men in Great Millstone teach 100%, of course, 100% truth.
Yeah. It's not about GMS. It's about the truth, man. You see, if you coming in the spirit of Yahweh Shemi, that's all that matters. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So ultimately, and that's why the scripture's going through the 2/3. The 2/3 they're gonna go through that broad gate, because wide is the way, or wide is the gate to destruction, basically paraphrasing. Yeah. So Jake loves the glitz and the glamours, and basically the honey and the basically the things that make an appearance within his Israelite ministry. But concerning the things that are very important, privacy, well, obviously, going into truly serving the Lord, they don't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. You gotta be willing to suffer, similar to how Yahawashi did. Of course, not to, the magnitude of Yahawashi, but as followers of Yahawashi, we're gonna have that, similar struggles, tribulations, things of that nature. You gotta think too, because Yahawashi, he already had the power to just overthrow the kingdom. He's the he's on the right hand of the Most High, man. But he when he was on the scene, he humbled himself down. He wasn't rich. You see, he had to go through those trials, man. You see, so if you're in the spirit of getting money, getting to the bag, your spirit is ultimately not right, and Yahawashi himself said you cannot serve the Lord and mammon. So you either gotta choose the Lord, or you gotta choose getting to the bag. There's no way you can be a servant of the Lord and focus on having a good life on this side. The scriptures go into just having just enough.
Yeah.
To pay your bills, take care of your family, and get by. And really have enough to not be too comfortable, because you got to go through as brothers like to say well, I guess a certain amount of hell on this side, so you don't get too comfortable. So you got something?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, Well, of course, when you go into Yahushua's walk, he showed forth the ultimate form of self-control. Because again, I don't know to this point, there's times where what it goes into the Jews how they want to make him the king. Of course, king of the Jews, but ultimately he stepped down from that.
Yeah,
a lot of opportunities that Yahushua could have took, but ultimately that was his mission. Again, many. Going to the scriptures, he of course, I don't know to brother's point. He could have called down legions. He could have took down the Roman Empire at that point immediately. But if he did that, then ultimately, we would have been through the Israelites.
And meanwhile, you got these guys in these different camps in the middle of our captivity, having the Passover. Nate coming in on the horse. You had Eleazar and the Sakari, they were sitting on thrones, man. And Yahawashi, when he came to Jerusalem, he came on the donkey, man. So these guys are, and you don't think Yahawashi would have rebuked these guys, man? You think Yahawashi would have been with that? You think Yahawashi would have been with the stripper Passover, man? Come on, man.
Yeah, it's only that the mind of Yahushua is in these guys.
A Passover fashion show, you think Yahawashi would have been on the stage participating in that? Hell nah, man.
Yeah, coming in with a horse with two Edomites, with a pooper scooper.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You think he would have been out there telling Edomites to kiss his boots? We're in captivity, man. This ain't the time for that. And Yahawashi knew that it wasn't the time for that. He knew what he had to come and be that sacrificial lamb for the nation of Israel, and doing that, being humble, being low. So we're not over here to be exalted, because you being exalted, having a certain rank or status in society, that comes with pride, man. And when somebody says, oh, you're such a great teacher, or I came in, we deny that, and we say you got to give the praise to Yahweh Shemi-Awashai, because this is not of our own works. This is ultimately through the Lord dealing with us. We're not going to be exalt ourselves and make it seem like, oh yeah, man, we got all this knowledge. You got certain Israelite leaders that say, what did he say? I'm the, or Yohana, he was like, I'm right after Yahawashi or something like that. Basically saying he's King David. Everybody like to say they King David. So everybody so these people have a certain amount of pride, and that pride is going to be their downfall. We're seeing these guys wax worse and worse. And ultimately, the Spirit of the Lord ain't on these guys. You got to come through truth and sincerity and be humble. And give all the glory. It goes to Yahawashi. It doesn't matter about us. Our whatever talents you may have. The Lord gave you that talent. You see.
Go on. It says Luke 14:7, and he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out of the chief room, saying unto them, when thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. It says, and he that bade thee, and him come and say to thee, give this man a place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. But when thou art bidden, go and sit in the lowest room. That when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself should be abased, but he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
There you go.
Yeah, so ultimately you got to let Yahweh from your side. Of course, ultimately, put you ultimately what's the word? Well, let's read again. It says, Luke chapter 14:12. For whosoever exalteth himself should be abased, and he that humbleth himself should be exalted. Yeah, so we're not supposed to exalt ourselves. Ultimately, Yahweh Shai, is one who, of course, love, or what, lifts us up. So, that's why, again, and, we obviously follow this, what the scriptures say, what the scriptures command us to do. We do it. The scriptures say to go out there in sackcloth.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna go on these basically these spectacular garments.
Exactly.
With metal and nothing wrong having, maybe you might have a little nice design here and there, but what, we're not supposed to be going out there with uniforms and marching and having again just this decked out garments. If you don't come out with this decked out garment, then you can't come to the camp. And basically in that spirit. Now ultimately, we're supposed to keep it simple and focus, of course, on the spiritual. Really focus on of course the spiritual things, of course, within this thing.
Yeah.
Not the outside appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a prime example of somebody being abased after they exalted themselves is that guy Eleazar. Going against the apostles and the elders of GMS. Not having respect unto those who's taught him the truth. All right, him being out here, what law am I breaking? This, that, and the third. Calling himself, I'm the chief high priest, and all this, all these things, and having pride of his numbers with Sakari and all this stuff, and it comes out that what came out about him, and he pretty much is out of there, man. He's out of nobody really gives a fuck about this dude anymore, man.
That dude's done, man.
The dude and still after all that, instead of just humbling himself down and repenting, and he's still coming with that pride. He's coming with that if I'm coming down, I'm bringing all these other guys down with me type of spirit.
Yeah. And what the scriptures say, basically goes into I forgot how it goes. It basically goes into, even if the Lord chastises Israel, they're still going to go off, man.
Yeah.
So, and ultimately that's because, hey, anyways, the Lord has hardened the heart of the 2/3.
Yep.
So no matter what, as these guys are being exposed, if they're not of the elect, then of course, they're going to continue to be to wax worse, as the scriptures go into, until their own demise and destruction. But but that's it on that.
All right, Khan.
Got anything else?
Let me see. I'll read this real quick, and then that can be it. This is Baruch 2:29. It says, "If you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations where I will scatter them." Going into, of course, Israelites as a result of, the curses being scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. Verse 30, it says, "For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves." And that's currently what's going on. And as you see, the Israelites becoming more and more awakened, you see the day of the Lord coming nearer and nearer. Verse 31, it says, "And shall know that I am the Lord their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name." You see, and think upon my name, which is what? Yahawashi. So that just goes into more proof that the Lord's name is important. Verse 33, it says, "And return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers which sinned before the Lord." And we ultimately understand why we in this position. Because, we broke that covenant, we went off, and as a result of, breaking the covenant, or, you could say that contract, the Lord said we would be going through these curses. All right. But currently, we're repenting and coming back to Yahawashi. But, and the reason why, we even have a chance to come back is through Yahawashi. And going back, not to keep talking about this dude, but, the guy Eleazar, he was saying, not to, pretty much not to worship Yahawashi. So and you notice that with a lot of these different camps that, they're not putting Yahawashi at the forefront of their ministry. You know.
Yeah, that's because going to Yahawashi, what is our foundation, and like any building, if you don't have that strong foundation, then the building is going to collapse.
There
It doesn't matter how, or how well in structure you make this part of the building, that part of the building, whatever building. Ultimately, if you don't have that foundation, then the whole building is going to collapse.
Yep.
So if you don't have Yahawashi, then ultimately, no matter what you do, ultimately, again, everything is going to collapse.
Yep. So they take out Yahawashi and ultimately, thinking they'll be delivered by keeping the law 100%. Which if we were all put to the standard of the law, we'd all be through. That's why the grace, and mercy of Yahawashi, right, through faith is required. Because we can't keep the law 100%. Through this captivity and all the technicalities, when it comes to the law. All right. Verse 34, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it. And I would increase them, and they shall not be diminished. So that's all, ultimately how you know that the small hats ain't the people, because the Lord is going to bring us back to our land, not the Edomites, not the British Edomites. All right. We're waiting on the Lord to ultimately get us back into our land. You see? And it says they shall be lords of it. I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. So that's going into the kingdom, and the kingdom is going to be like an everlasting rulership. It's not going to be a time where the Edomites or something like that, or the heathens is going to come up and it's going to be a battle, and because we're going to be perfect. It's going to be no reason for the Lord to put us back into this estate or even have a problem with any of these heathens, because we're going to be perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be no reason.
Yep.
Because the second coming is going to kick in.
That's it.
Jeremiah 31 goes into.
That's it. Verse 35, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land I have given them. You see? So that everlasting covenant is going into the new covenant, when the new covenant will be completely established, all right, which going into the kingdom, the law being written in our inward parts, and we're going to be perfect. And it says, as a result of that, what does it say? And I will no more drive my people out of Israel, out of the land that I have given them. All right, so that's it. That's I'll leave it on that.
Well, that's the point. Those were you brothers out there edified.
Yep.
End it off. Give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Hashem, Yahawashi, Hashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors under the elders of Apostle Millstone, elders been Millstone. Of course, peace and blessings under the whole elect out there. Shalom.
Shalom.